go left, right. Right, right, forward, go left, hold your left, hold your left, go left, go left, right. Watch out, forward, go left, forward, forward, go left.
It's good! Yeah! Okay! Good!
Go left, forward, go left. Go left, left, on your left, 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 right, left flank, one, left, 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 right, more time, on your left, on your left, pass, hold, head job, move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Up out, race. Open rank. Large. Ready. Front. Last two. Up out, race. Guide on. Close.
Attention! Salute!
Order.
Order.
Arms.
Right feet. Forward.
Right on. Post.
Forward. Forward. Go left. Go left. Go left. Right. Go left. Calico. Forward. Go left. Go left. Go left. Go left. Right. Left. Go left. Go left. Go left. Go left. Right. Forward. Forward. Left. And break. Left. 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 Right. Ready. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. Left. Right. Right leg. Forward. Left. 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 Walk now. Forward. Left. Home. Up out. Feet.
It's good. Yeah. Good.
Right.
Right.
Ready? Run. Left.
High. Right.
Ready? Cut. Left. Left. Left.
Oh. how you doing? Look here. Right. Oh, gee, I get it.
Right on. Hold.
In keeping with the notion of keeping our graduation ceremony short and sweet, we're going to get started. I see there are a few other people entering the room, and we'll, for about another minute or so to chill out. Things in place, ready to go. On behalf of the President of Miami-Dade Community College, the Director of the School of Justice and Safety Administration, and the Director of Metro-Dade Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, I want to welcome you to what we have aptly began to identify as a ceremony. Even though we formally call it a graduation, it is a ceremony, a celebration to recognize several men and women who over the past few months have worked hard to find themselves at this particular point in their lives. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize you as family members, because without you, I think many, many more trials and tribulations may have occurred to these young men and women than they experienced. I can remember at family night when I shared with you then that I am looking forward to seeing your game and to formally welcome you to the family of corrections, a family that is both strong, a family that is both united. And even though all families have their difficulties from time to time, we're still a family. It is through adversity that we rise to levels of achievement. I can go on and on and on and say how much we all, Mr. Felton and his staff, Mr. Stinchcomb, and our staff, about your positive contribution to your loved ones. Bringing them lunches, picking them up, dropping them off, taking care of the kids, doing the housework, putting up with some of that aggravation, as some people said during family night, being drugged around the room, reverse wrist locks put on you, and hammerlock come-alongs, and all of other kinds of things. So if we had our way, we'd also put some badges on you. But unfortunately, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement does not give me the authority to make you honorary correctional officers. but I can, by virtue of my role as the Corrections Training Institute Associate Director, verbally refer to you as honorary corrections trainees. And so when you come back to the academy, we can make that official. Without further ado, I'm going to ask the training staff to present your class. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. Graduating class of I'd like for you all to rise while we ask the honor guard to post the color. Graduating Officer Martine Jan VR will come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Forward.
Order.
We'll now have the invocation by Reverend James Martin, Metro-Dade Corrections and Rehabilitation Department.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore. Let us bow for a word of prayer. Eternal God, our Father, we do thank you once again for this day and this opportunity you've given us to come out here this afternoon and to acknowledge the accomplishments of COT Class 70. Father, we do look at it as a celebration, for you've brought these young men and young women a long way. You've watched over them, you've protected them, you've given them the strength in order to accomplish the task that was laid before them. Now, Father, we do pray for continued blessing on their service to our community, and Father, your service unto you. For it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
The audience can take your seats.
Ready? Seat.
Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd like to have Lieutenant June DeMonte to join with me and introduce our distinguished guest, Lieutenant DeMonte.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Metro-Dade Department of Corrections and its Academy staff, I'd like to welcome you here, and it's my pleasure to introduce my department's command staff to you. I'm going to ask each of them to stand if they would, and I would ask the audience to hold their applause until we're finished. Mr. Charles Felton, Director, Dade County Department of Corrections. Mr. John Natt, Assistant Director, Jail Operations. Mr. Rolando Escalante, Director, Jail Operations Division. Ms. Althea Coleman, Director, Departmental Services Division. Ms. Debbie Vieira Rodriguez, Director, Technical Services Division. Ms. Jackie Rowe, Director, Administrative Division. Chief Jerry Meese, East Operations. Chief Ann Vendrell, Professional Compliance Bureau. Chief Sandra Milton, Special Operations. Captain Sheila Siddiqui. Captain Marcus Smith. Captain John Gagliardi. Captain Denise Bendros. Captain Guy Evans. Captain Joe Zappia. Captain Miriam Karamis. Captain John Sanchez. And Captain Don Taylor. I'd also like to introduce Miriam Kovacs, who is the commander of the Human Resources Bureau, and Ms. Janelle Hall, who is the supervisor of our Public Information Unit. And I'd also like to introduce our department's religious coordinator, Dr. Jose Hernandez, and you've already met his assistant, Reverend James Martin. Last but certainly not least, I want to recognize the people who were the training advisors for COT 72, Corporal Homer Hall, Officer Donald Willard, and Officer Valerie Wooten. My congratulations to them for a job well done. Thank you very much.
In the 70s, a concept was born out of the desire to regionalize and to pool resources. And one of those opportunities was the concept of a regional training center. And in the regional training center, there's a blend of both professional staff who have been in the field and the academic staff who is involved in research, course development, etc. And through our combined efforts, there is an attempt to, number one, stay current with what's happening in the field. Number two, to make the curriculum and present it in such a way that we're constantly evolving, so that when our officers go out, they will be prepared. For the past 6 years, I've always said it, and I'll say it at this graduation. I've been a corrections administrator for approximately 10 years. I've been a police officer for approximately 10 years. Of the two jobs that I've had, whether it's law enforcement, policing the streets of a municipality in Dade County, or whether running youthful offender facilities, of the two, the one that is the most challenging, the one that prepared me to do police work, the one that prepared me to deal with the slings and barbs and arrows that are often thrown when you are thrust into the administrative role, is corrections. And so it is important that you understand that in order to be a correctional officer, you have to have a tremendous amount of integrity. intestinal fortitude. And the concept of regional training center, the mixture of academic and professionals in the field, is a very dynamic process because philosophies are changing, ways of doing things are changing. I can remember starting off in 1980 at the Institute as an adjunct professor. And corrections training was minimized. In fact, there was 160 hours and they give you a set of keys, and then you were supposed to be, after you've been on the work for about 2-3 years, and that was considered training. And so in the Institute, as in most institutes around the state and country, corrections was not perceived as a very viable operation. The training was minimized. What we wanted was a warm body. What the research seems to suggest is that training is a very integral part of how people develop. That the days of give me a warm body who can stand there and drool at the mouth and look glassy-eyed and have 8 black hairy arms is over. That today's correctional officer needs to be prepared mentally and physically. And so we've seen our training programs grow in corrections to one that emphasizes some degree of intellect. That if we want warm bodies, we can certainly find those. But if we want men and women who have the mental and the physical capabilities of doing the job, training becomes extremely important. I gave that introduction so that before I introduce the guest speaker for today, I wanted to recognize all the training officers that are assigned to the School of Justice, and to those who are training officers now and those who were in the past. I want to personally thank you for the cooperative relationship that we've shared over the last 12 years. I particularly want to pay respects because she was not introduced, but I do want to commend Lieutenant June DeMonte, who works very hard for the department and is responsible for much of the innovative things that we're doing that's bringing us nationwide attention, that people call us when they want to know about things, that when they want to know about how do you integrate classroom with practical application, all one has to do is to look at our stockade experience where the officers go out and interact with other inmates. Lieutenant, since we didn't have to formally recognize you and you didn't have an opportunity to stand, would you please stand along with the other training staff, please? For the past, every time we try to identify a guest speaker, and I was premature in this one, I'll explain to you later, we look for a number of criteria. Sometimes we get the feedback from the class, sometimes I make a decision, sometimes the department makes a decision. But one of the staff members, Officer Steve Lillard, who's been very, very involved in training, indicating that our guest speaker would really be an inspiration to the graduating class. And so in my usual way that I've learned over the years is you delegate some issues, and if you can't get one situation, it's always important to have a plan B. And so our first option was an A. And, he said Judge Maxine Cohen Lando would be a dynamic speaker for the operation. And so I told Steve, and you can't give Steve a task, because I had the desire of, I had some other thoughts in my mind, and by the time I had realized it, he had already contacted Judge Lando, made arrangements, talked to her about what he thought she should be saying, submitted the program with the name on it, got me a copy of the resume, and I thought that was outstanding of Officer Lillard. Our guest speaker's present assignment is from 1991. She has been a county court judge in the Traffic, Domestic Violence, and Criminal Matters Division. Her professional background includes from private practice, criminal, juvenile, and some civil litigation. From 1974 to 1985, Assistant Public Defender, 11th Judicial Circuit, Dade County, Florida. She was admitted to the bar in 1974 and the U.S. District Court trial bar in 1979. Educational background, having received a BA in 1971 from the University of Michigan. In 1974, she graduated from the University of Miami School of Law. She's on the board of directors of the Bench and Bar Unit of B'nai B'rith, vice president of the Bet Shira Congregation, Coalition of Hispanic American Women, Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce, and the list goes on and on. She's associated with the American Bar Association, American Judges Associations, Dade County Bar Association, Cuban American Bar Association, and the list goes on and on. She's a frequent lecturer at Miami-Dade Institute of Criminal Justice, or was, and she has done a number of presentations. She's married to Marvin D. Lando, who's a senior audit partner, and she has 2 daughters. Steve indicated to me, Judge Lando, that you would very energetic person from his relationships and knowing you over the years. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you our guest speaker, Judge Maxine Cohen Lando.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that very kind introduction, Mr. Lattimore. And I first want to congratulate all of the members of the class. As Mr. Lattimore told you, my career in Dade County, I've grown up here, but my career in Dade County as an attorney goes back to really 1973 when I was still in law school. And during that year, I had the honor to intern in the public defender's office, and that was where my career in the Justice Building began. And that also began my association, my very pleasant association with the Corrections Department. I want to tell you that the first time I walked into a courtroom, a scared intern, not knowing the first thing to say, there was this nice corrections officer sitting in the court next to the judge who was always encouraging. When I was young and naive and probably even a little scared in terms of talking to my own clients, there was a corrections officer who was knowing and compassionate with the inmates that they had to deal with on a day-to-day basis, who probably knew more about the workings of the court than I did, and who I listened to quite a bit, and who sometimes, when I might have had a problem with a difficult client, might even talk to that client and say, "She's a pretty good lady. She'll fight real hard for you. You ought to listen to what she has to say." And that experience throughout all of the years of practice, and now my experience as a judge, and most of the captains and chiefs that are sitting over there have probably had the unpleasant experience at one time or another with me frantically running in with some sort of problem that they immediately solve for me. My experience teaches me that whereas when we were children, perhaps, and we used to turn on the television and the only thing we knew about corrections or a corrections department was some little old man with a beard that they called a jailer, we know now that being a corrections officer is a professional job, that you are professionals, that you are expected to act that way, sometimes under extremely adverse situations. I've seen corrections officers in court and in the jail subject to sometimes abuse or violence, and they handle it with the utmost skill, and most of all, with the utmost compassion. No matter how long they all seem to have been in what is really not a very nice place. A jail is not a nice place. The people that are there don't want to be there. The families that come to visit them would much rather be seeing them someplace else. And yet here are these corrections officers who day after day come in and are compassionate and understanding and yet controlling with the people that they have to deal with. And anybody who says any different at any time should come talk to me, because I've stood there and I've watched it, And I know the roles that a corrections officer plays are just as different and just as changing as when I first walked into that courtroom and I was told that women couldn't try cases. It was sort of a genetic defect. And now I look at a class that is 50% women. I look at a class that reflects the diversity of this county. And I think that we should be proud of our corrections department and our corrections officers because they clearly strive to reflect our community and to be our community. And that, I guess, is really the thrust of what I want to say to you. I don't want to talk for too long because I know how anxious everybody is to get their certificates. But you are our community. You represent our community. You are the professionals in our community. And so you represent a certain standard of conduct. And just as it is for judges or police officers, that standard follows you whether you are in that uniform or not. And that is a very good thing for us, I think, because all of the training and all of the abilities that this class brings to their job, they also bring to their community. When I was standing outside before we started the ceremony, I mentioned to one of the captains that I didn't think that the corrections officers really have the public image that they need to have. Now, that's partly the fault, I suppose, of people that don't understand what it is that corrections officers do. But I also urge you all to make sure that that image is portrayed in the best possible light everywhere you go. I urge you to take your professional sense and not to just go to that job and go home, but to take that professionalism and to give it to the community at all times, whether it be volunteer work or in your church or whatever it is that you're going to choose to do. But that you take what you've learned and what you see, and that includes some of the happiness, but mostly the sadness and the agony and the anxiety that people go through in the situation that you're going to view them. And you take it back with you into the rest of Dade County, and especially to our kids. Especially to our kids. And I urge you to participate in any way that you can to let our kids know just how tough a place where you work is, because it is tough. So your job, I have good news and bad news. The good news is congratulations, you're corrections officers. The bad news is your job doesn't end when you go home. You'll go home to your families, and those of us who are working parents who work outside the home know what that's like. And you've had a tired day and you're going to come home and you can't yell at your kids. You can, but they won't like it. And then you're going to go into your community, and what I am telling you is we expect of you, and you need to expect of yourself, that you're going to give back even that measure more. Because the experiences that you will have, that you have now, are unique. Nobody can talk about what you see except you and the people that are sitting in those corrections facilities. And you get to go out and talk about it, and they don't, hopefully. So I urge you to go and do that. I urge you to be as high profile in your community as you possibly can, and to represent all of us who are in the criminal justice system and who are so frustrated day after day. We share your frustration, and we know that you share ours. But lastly, I want to get back to what I have always seen in corrections officers, and to remind you of it, because studies show us that it's easy to forget. Now, I haven't seen anybody forget it, to be quite honest, but I know that it can happen. and that is your humanity, your compassion, your sense of mercy. That all of the people that you will deal with, and some of them aren't nice people, most of them you wouldn't take home for dinner, but that they're human beings, that they have a soul that God gave them. And I ask you to remember that, because it isn't always going to be easy what we're going to ask you to do, what this community asks you to do. It's a tough job. But after all of this training and with the confidence of your instructors and this community, we know that you can do it. And so I congratulate you personally upon all of your hard work. I congratulate your families for being as supportive as you have when people come home and study every night and you have to take care of the kids or whatever the situation was, that you lose the company of somebody that you want to be with and to help them get through this schooling. And I wish you all, in the languages of Dade County, buena suerte, bon chance, and good luck. Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to ask, following such an inspirational message, the new director of Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, having been on the job only a short time, but a man who has a national reputation for his knowledge of jail operations. And he indicated that he didn't need to say a whole lot. But I think that at this point in time, he might want to share with you, since you are his first class, a few additional words. Mr. Felton, Director Felton, could you please address the class?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and to the graduating class, class number 72, permit me to express my sincere congratulations to you. I'm delighted that you have chosen to stop being called Mr. and Miss and Mrs., and you have decided to be called Deputy Mr., Mrs., and Miss, and congratulations. It's quite an accomplishment. I applaud you for your decision to join the ranks of correctional officers, and believe me, we welcome you from the bottom of our hearts. One of the things I wanted to say as I approach the difficult position and the task of directing the Dade County Department of Corrections is that I've never had much of a tolerance for minimum standards. It is my belief that the Dade County Department of Corrections, not only my belief, but my ambition, that we will become an international leader in the field of corrections within a very short time period. And as I look at graduating class 72, I am even more confident that we will achieve our goals. I would like to take just a little of your time and share with you a few words this afternoon on the subject of professionalism. As we review the American Heritage Dictionary, it defines professionalism as having great skill or experience in a particular field or activity. But I say to you that as you begin your career in corrections, you will find that professionalism in its various manifestations is much more than that. It is the personification of methods, character, and standards in one of the most demanding occupations of our time. So as we approach the 21st century, we have a responsibility to lay a firm foundation for a more enlightened correction system. There's absolutely no room for mediocrity. We must achieve perfection. This is not a simple task. Presently, the field of corrections finds itself between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, the public is demanding harsher sentences and more punitive measures against those who violate the laws of our society. However, on the other hand, we continue to hear voices calling for, clamoring for decent treatment and for a more enlightened correction system. So we must understand the need for a balanced approach in the field of corrections. We must endeavor to help those who can be helped and to provide the necessary custody levels for those who can't be helped. I would like to see corrections assume a more proactive role in the public safety debate. The needs of corrections are numerous, and unless we are able and willing to clearly articulate our position for an improved criminal justice system, we will continue to be regarded as stepchildren of the criminal justice system. We must overcome the stereotypical image that has been followed our profession for so long. We are not guards, we are not turnkeys, we are not screws. We are professionals in every sense of the word, and we must demonstrate that. Professionalism in corrections will enable us to create the future, to mold and shape the Dade County Department of Corrections into a thriving human services enterprise that will benefit the community in which we live. Professionalism includes the capacity to be a critical thinker. We are driven by internal principles, values, ethics, and a code of conduct. We will constructively challenge our organization to make it better and more productive. Professionals get the job done because of who they are and not for whom they work or where they work. Professionalism embodies a can-do attitude filled with a team spirit. Professionals avoid unnecessary confrontations, but are willing to stand up for ideals and principles that they believe to be right. They endeavor to keep everyone headed in the right direction. They are willing to be judged by the results of their decisions and work product. Professionalism means being a self-starter, to work without a lot of guidance, and to work independently and thoroughly. Professionals are creative forces that perceive and maintain our organizational vision. So I leave you this afternoon with the challenge that we commit ourselves to higher levels of professionalism. If this challenge is met, our department will be instantly more productive. For a team to be successful, everyone must play their role and play it well. Individual wants and desires become secondary to the success of the organization. As a young man starting in the field of corrections over 25 years ago, I embodied the spirit of one of the prophets of old who said, "Here am I, send me." I did not say it is not my job or let someone else do it. I would like to leave you with a few guiding principles. One is that you develop and maintain a broad knowledge base and a continuing thirst for knowledge. I also ask that you would be courageous and each day raised to meet the challenges of corrections with vigor and strength. I would also ask that through your character, let fair play and goodwill be manifested. I also ask that you be known for your integrity. In the words of a famous philanthropist, be not weary of well-doing. And finally, I ask that you would endeavor to bear one another's burdens. So I leave you with the prophecy that you may never know shame and dishonor, and that you will have a double portion of everlasting joy and prosperity. And it is my prayer that as you go forth from this place, that wherever you go, that God will go with you. Congratulations again, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Colton. We'll now have the class address by graduating officer Denise Hammond.
Good afternoon and welcome distinguished guests, fellow officers, families, and friends to the graduation of COT 72. I am going to address our attitudes as officers and how it will affect us in our careers and in our lives. Attitudes by Charles Swindoll. The longer we live, the more I realize the impact of attitude in life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances. than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, or a home. The remarkable thing is, we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for the day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. We are convinced that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. Thank you.
This graduating officer, Officer Hannah, you'd have to pull the mic up so high after I left. Could have just brought it halfway down. She's done a fantastic job as class leader, and I want to share with you, I'm pretty sure, our appreciation for the outstanding job. I can remember when I first got here, the idea of a woman being a class leader was hush. Sad, but we've come a long way, and that we should be placing people in positions of authority because of their abilities and skills, not because of their sex or race. And so Ms. Hannah has really risen to the challenge of her class leadership position. Always serious, but she got the job done. Thank you, Officer. We'll now have the presentation of Institute Awards, and joining me will be Corporal Homer Hall, Officer Steve Lillard, Officer Valerie Wooten, the training officers from Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
The Training Advisors Award is presented to the class or squad leader who excels in leadership skills, enthusiasm, helpfulness to the training staff and fellow class members. It gives us great pleasure to present this award to Officer Denise Hannah.
At this point, I have an award that we'd like to present to one of the trainees in the class. She has been through some pretty adverse situations, like little stuff, like being evicted from her home, getting in a car accident, losing her vehicle, yet she still came out of this academy as the top, at the cream of the crop. And with that in mind, I'd like to present the Exemplary Performance Award to graduating officer Tiffany Moxham.
The Institute also gives an award for outstanding academic performance. And our next recipient has a grade point average of approximately 97%, over 97%. Now let me explain to you what that is in the context of an academy program. But when we talk about over 97% performance, we're talking about a person who is exposed to a number of major modular exams. And those exams are not easy, nor should they be. And this trainee scored well over 97%. But in addition to that, and Officer Lillard mentioned it briefly, I'd like to cite the conditions under which our recipient received those grades. During her tenure at the academy, she was placed in some very difficult positions. At one point, she was the subject of an eviction from her apartment. Additionally, she was the victim of an automobile accident and lost her vehicle for a period of time. Due to her financial situation upon entering a training program, she was experiencing a problem having her basic needs met. Members of the class rallied around for her to help her to continue in the program. On more than one occasion, she considered withdrawing from the program, but she reached down inside of herself and has come out of this a better person. But not only that, she's been an example for those of us who experience adversity. In meeting people who are candidates for the position of corrections officer with Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections, I have a question that I ask. One of the things that first goes up is, how much will I make? And I say, what do you have? And they say, a high school diploma. I say, what is it worth? What I want the person to think about is that sacrifices must be made. And one of the things that I say to them is that you must invest in your own education. The time of paying people to get a position to make so that they can make them some money is over. Here's a person who has gone through all kinds of adversities. She never complained about it. The one thing that I heard from her was, Mr. Lattimore, I think the comprehensive exam should be removed. I did not know that we were going to do it during graduation week because I don't think they were as focused as they would have been. But she had the guts and tenacity enough to say, you know, it was short notice and we think we need some additional time. And I went back to the training advisors and I said, it's a tough person and it's going to make a good corrections officer. But I did not know this while she was in the academy. This was only brought to me nearing graduation. In spite of the tremendous sacrifices and adversity, her grade point average is 97.8%. I'd like to present our High Academic Award to graduating officer Tiffany Moxon.
On the very first day of the academy, we all agreed that physical fitness was a vital component of our career and that we were going to work hard to get into shape. Even through the heat, the rain, the stadium stairs, the wind sprints, push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry, they enjoyed it. They changed their outlook on fitness as well as nutrition. They learned that to burn off a Burger King Whopper with cheese, fries, chocolate shake, and a Coke, which consists of approximately 1,400 calories, they must run at least 1 hour and 49 minutes, which we did. But I'd like to acknowledge those individuals that have scored good to superior in the categories of sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, and the 1.5 mile run. Fitness leaders for COT 72 are William Dias, Derek Hollis, Timothy Jackson, and last, Tiffany Moxon. Please stand up. Thank you. This next award goes to an individual for the outstanding achievement, unselfish dedication, motivation, and commitment towards physical fitness. With a superior record of 56 sit-ups in 1 minute, 51 push-ups, 9 pull-ups, 10:36 in the 1.5 mile run. Outstanding Physical Fitness Award for COT 72 goes out to Officer Tiffany Moxham. Congratulations.
I want to kind of cite a young person who is participating in COT 72's graduation today. Well, two people. One of them was a young lady that I met about 2.5 years ago, who said, I want to be a correctional officer, and someone at the county told me to call you. I have to do some additional work in some areas, and so every week the thousands of officers who get caught up in the system call Mr. Lattimore. So the administrators can't call me when my supervisor can't call me because my mailbox is full. It is full because of people like this other individual who needs some guidance and direction. Ms. Mitchell was a trainee in another class. And she needed an opportunity to re-enroll in one of the units of instruction that she needed to make up. She was unable to graduate with her class, but after 2.5 years of struggling to become a correctional officer, she finally found herself in the running. She came back on her own time, at her own expense, without salary, with responsibilities, and completed the entire unit of instruction that she had missed again. For the last 2 to 3 months, she has been coming. If it was scheduled in the morning, she'd be here for the 2 to 4 hours. If it was scheduled in the afternoon, she'd be here without any income coming in. She never complained, she never griped. She only said, Mr. Lattimore, I'm doing this because I want to be a Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections officer. I'd like to have her stand, and we're going to give her a round of applause. Miss Sheila Mitchell, graduating officer. There's another employee. We have what we also call the PSI program. Mr. Eddie Harris, would you stand, please? Mr. Harris coordinates what we call our Pre-Service Institute program. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Where we allow students who don't have sponsorship to attend a corrections training program, and he is our background person. He is one of the individuals that preliminarily looks at them. Our rules are not as strict in terms of we don't get psychologicals, we don't get polygraphs necessarily. But he does a pretty good screening of the applicants that come in. And as a result, we've been able to place a number of our graduating independent, and these are the people that come for 4.5 months who sit up in the classroom with no stipend. In the last class, we had 12 independent students, individuals who attended the academy without any financial assistance. One of them advised me the other day, and I want to commend the Metro-Dade Department of Corrections, that he had received his letter to hire. That young man paid his own money. And the adversity I want to share with you is to talk about the dedication of these officers. But during the academy, we did not know that after years of marriage that his family separated. That he was left in a house raising 2 younger brothers without any income except that which would be paid by his father when he came over to get the mail. For 4.5 months, without any money, except that which he made on the weekend, he persevered. Mr. Mr. Harris is primarily responsible for that young man getting a job today. And what do I mean? A lot of our people who are young come and all they need is a sense of direction. There's a great deal of motivation in this class, a great deal of desire and determination. This young lady was also one of those independents who came to us with some money. Said, I want to be a correctional officer. We told her that you have to wait. She said, well, I can't wait for the metro process, but I want to get in now so that when the program is over, I'll be certified and I can go work for them because that's what I want to do. And so she started the program with no income, with responsibilities, without any income at all. And we have approximately 70 people who have come to us and say, I don't want to wait on the system. I just want to become a student. I'll survive. Ms. Williams, would you stand? All of those individuals are going to make you great officers, and thanks for the decision to at least look at them and to give them the opportunity. I don't think you'll regret it. We'll now have presentation of class awards by graduating officers William Dias, Tara Hall, and LaShonda Knight.
Good afternoon to our distinguished guests, families, and friends. We would like to take this time to honor our training officers and faculty. Our first award is presented to Officer Bird. She has been very helpful to each of us. We will best remember her by her favorite words, I'm only stating facts. Officer Bird. Our next award is for Sergeant Cambridge. He's always presented himself as a professional and as a leader. Sergeant Cambridge. Our next award is for a firm leader who only expected the best from us, and that's Corporal Hall.
I don't know what this is, but I'm going to open it a little later. A couple of nights ago, I was sitting down listening to a song on my CD player. Actually, the album by singer-songwriter Regina Bell. And the song that I liked most of all on the album is called Dream in Color. It kind of brings back some memories of COT 72. The words are as follows. Tired of living life in black and white. There's so much in between. Like a rainbow in the sky, crying to be seen. If I settle for less, I won't be the best I can be. When I dream in color. I'll give you so many reasons to capture a dream. If I was unaware, if I didn't care about people, places, and things, how could I live a life not knowing how to dream? COT 72, I gave you so many reasons to capture a dream. Finally, when you dreamt in color. And now that you've awakened from that dream, the colors turn out to be green and gray. Thank you.
Okay, next. Okay, this person, she hasn't been with us for long, but the time that we spent together, we've learned one thing, that she loves the Eagles. Our next award goes to Officer Wu. This man should be a spokesman for Amoco because he loves to say, and I quote, "You're out of gas, go to Amoco." We present this award to Officer Lillard. We would also like to present the Institute with a plaque to show our appreciation. It's down. And again, we would like to thank all of our training officers and the School of Justice very much. This completes our class awards.
And now we come to that part of the program that they've been waiting for. As presentation of certificates of completion and the silver badge. For the past few months, they've been holding up one shoulder so that when the badge goes on and pull it down, it should be even off at this point in time. I'd like to ask Mr. Charles Felton, Director, to join me at the front of the table. Staff, we can assist with this process. And we will now, and anyone who is a family member, we ask that you get in the area there. And I'm going to ask the training staff to assist me with these presentation.
Class, active, hook. Right, face.
Officer Trina Adams.
All right.
Officer Darielle Anderson. Officer Sheila Dixon, and presenting her badge will be her sister, Corporal Lolita Burnside from the Metro-Dade Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Officer William Dias. Officer William Green. Officer Tara Hall. Officer Denise Hanna. Officer Eddie Hodgson. Officer Derek Holas. Officer Timothy Jackson. Officer Martine Janvier, and presenting her badge will be her brother, Officer Jean Janvier from the Metro-Dade Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Officer Carrie Jordan. Officer LaShonda Knight. Officer Renee Laborn. Officer Robert Lee. Officer Tiffany Moxham. Officer Roderick Nellums. Officer Lolita Nelson. Officer Lisa Peoples. Officer Thomas Perschetti. Officer Robert Perez. Officer Alberta Poindoujour. Officer Sammy Stevenson. Officer Angela Williams. And Officer Sheila Mitchell.
Before we give them the oath of office, let's give them a round of applause.
It is my honor to present to you the oath of office to you, Class 72. Would you please raise your right hand? When I say I, repeat your own name. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of a correctional officer of the Dade County Corrections and Rehabilitation Department, of which I am now about to enter. So help me God. Thank you.
We'll now have the Code of Ethics by graduating officer Sammy Stevenson.
Good evening, distinguished guests, family, and friends. Will all sworn officers please stand? As a correctional officer, I will regard myself as a member of an important and honorable profession. I will keep myself in the best possible physical condition at all times. I will perform my duty with efficiency at all times. I will be exemplary in my conduct, edifying in my conversation, honest in my dealings, and obedient to the laws of the city, state, and country. I will regard my oath as I regard my sacred honor. I will not, in the performance of my duty, work for personal advantage or profit. I will, at all times, recognize that I am a public servant. I will give the most efficient and impartial service of which I am capable at all times. I will be courteous in my contacts at all times. I regard my fellow officers with the same standards as I hold myself. I will guard my fellow officers' honor and life as I guard my own. I will be loyal to my fellow officers, my superiors, and my institution. I will accept responsibility for my actions. I will do only those things that will reflect honor on my fellow officers, my institution, and myself. Thank you.
At this moment, I'm going to have the graduating officer class leader, Hannah, to have the class sit.
Ready, seats.
And we're going to have a musical selection by graduating officer Angela Williams and Company.
God has not promised me sunshine, and that's not the way it's going to be. But a little rain, mixed with God's sunshine, a little pain, makes me appreciate the good time be. Grateful. Be grateful. God desires to fill your longings, every pain that you feel, He feels them just like you. Just like you. And He can't afford to let you feel only good. Only good. Then you can appreciate the good times be.
I think that is what was alluded to earlier when Mr. Felton said teamwork. You see, sometimes you can fake things up and keep on. Somebody know what to do. Somebody's supposed to jump in there and do it. So thank you. I did not know it was going to sound so nice. When you talk about being thankful, that just reminded me of the thing that makes our operation work. And a lot of times when you're managing a program, that you forget the folk who really make it go. And every time that I have a graduation, I have to say to these ladies, and I want to kind of preface it, that they had 3 graduations today, that we were not able to begin our preparation until this afternoon. The college is extremely busy, and the stage is not available, and I think the class and the staff did well. But this is the 2nd graduation that these ladies have had to do today, and a class secretary, which is the focal point of all of the things that happens in a class for the entire duration. And we have the 2 class secretaries in the back, and 2 of the hardest working people I think that I've come to realize or met in a long time. And I'd be remiss in my responsibility if I did not recognize them. They get a lot done for us. And I want you to know, Barbara, would you stand for us, please? Mabel? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your work. It's the people who attend to detail that seem to get things done. We will now, we're rapidly approaching the end of the program. Generally we're out here about an hour or so, but I think we've done well. I'd like to ask the class leader to bring the class to attention.
Class, attend.
I'd like the audience to please stand for the benediction. And I'd like for Dr. Jose Hernandez to join us for the benediction.
Let us bow our heads. Father, we thank you so much for this afternoon. We thank you for the officers and their families. We pray for these new officers that you give them wisdom, strength, help them to become professionals in their jobs. We ask you, Lord, to give them a dream. Help them to become the corporals, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the captains of our departments. We ask you to be with them in a very special way as they go into the different facilities. We ask you to protect them. Help them to be fair, to have compassion. Help them to be an example what a correction officer should be. And we ask you right now to bless them and their families. For it is in your name we pray. Amen.
The audience can take their seats. Members of our guests, we're going to be officially turning these officers over to Mr. Felton and his staff. I'd just like to make one additional comment to Ms. Jackie Rowe, Ms. Althea Coleman, and Commander Miriam Kovacs, and your staff for that extra effort that you went on behalf of a number of issues that were brought to your attention. I want you to know that School of Justice really appreciates the work that you did in assisting some of the individuals who are here today. Mr. Felton, by the authority invested in me as the Associate Director of the Institute, Corrections Training Institute, I'm going to officially put these officers into service as corrections officers with Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections.
Right face.
In corrections, in law enforcement, we do a lot lot of use of the radio here. We use what we call the Q codes. The Q codes is an 09 codes, and generally when law enforcement does it, they have an elaborate tape and it clicks on and clicks off. When you work in an institution, it doesn't sound so pretty. And if law enforcement were to be doing it for real, it wouldn't sound as pretty as it does with all at the top. So we're going to try to maintain an institutional climate. And I hope that, Mr. Felton, that when these officers go into service, that they will provide you with an outstanding job. Graduating officer, Trina Adams, 09. Graduating officer, Dariel Anderson, 09. Graduating officer, Sheila Dixon, 09. Graduating officer, William Dias, 09. Graduating officer, William Green, 09. Graduating officer, Tara Hall, 09. Graduating officer, Denise Hanna, 09. Graduating officer, Eddie Hodgson, 09. Graduating officer, Derek Hollis, 09. Graduating officer, Timothy Jackson, 09. Graduating officer, Janvier Marthin, 09. Graduating officer, Carrie Jordan, 09. Graduating officer, LaShonda Knight, 09. Graduating officer, Renee LaBorne, 09. Graduating officer, Robert Lee, 09. Graduating officer, Tiffany Moxon, 09. Graduating officer, Roderick Nellums, 09. Graduating officer, Lolita Nelson, 09. Graduating officer, Lisa Peoples, 09. Graduating officer, Thomas Perchetti, 09. Graduating officer, Robert Perez, 09. Graduating officer, Alberto Pontdujour, 09. Graduating officer, Sammy Stevens, 09. Graduating officer, Angela Williams, 09. Graduating officer, Sheila Mitchell, 09. Attention all Metro-Dade County Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation facilities. These officers are now 09, 15. 15 means they're in service and they're there for assistance. Class supervisors,
COT 72, dismissed.
Family members can now come down and pin the badges on. Family members can now come down and pin the badges on.
I have no access to it in the air, huh? got 7 class.